Everyone around you suddenly seems to be talking about artificial intelligence. Your kids mention it. The news mentions it. Someone at work says, we should use AI for that. And the whole room nods like it is obvious. And maybe quietly, you have wondered the thing a lot of people wonder, and almost nobody says out loud. What even is this thing? Not, how do I become an expert? Just, what is it really? Underneath all the noise, that is the entire job of this lesson. By the end of the next few minutes, you will actually know. No code, no math, no assumed background, and no pretending the marketing and the reality are the same thing, because they are not. Here is what you will walk away with. The 30-second history of how we got here, in plain words, why this all seemed to explode out of nowhere a couple of years ago, when the technology itself is actually decades old. The difference between what the word AI means in a marketing brochure and what it actually is underneath. And the one honest thing most explanations leave out, that even the experts do not fully agree on what counts as real AI. That is more than enough to follow any conversation. Let us go. Artificial intelligence is not new. The phrase was coined back in the 1950s, Earth older than the moon landing, and for most of those decades, AI meant something fairly modest. Computer programs that followed rules a human had written down. If this, then that. A chess program that knew the rules of chess, a tax program that knew the tax code. Useful, but not mysterious. It only ever did exactly what it was told. Then came a shift, and it is the important one. Instead of a human writing down every single rule, people figured out how to let the computer find the patterns by itself, by showing it enormous piles of examples. Show a program a million photos labeled cat and a million labeled not a cat, and it gradually learns on its own what tends to make a cat a cat. Nobody wrote the rule. Cats have pointed ears. The machine worked it out from the examples. That approach is called machine learning, and the word learning is doing a lot of honest work in that name. The most recent chapter takes that same idea and points it at language. You take an almost unimaginable amount of text, books, articles, websites, conversations, and you train a program to do one deceptively simple thing: predict what word is likely to come next. Do that at a large enough scale, with enough text and enough computing power, and something surprising happens. The program gets so good at what comes next that it can hold a conversation, write an email, summarize a long document, or explain a topic to you. That kind of program is what people are usually pointing at today when they say AI. It has a technical name, a large language model, and we will come back to that next time. So the 30-second version, rule-following programs, then pattern learning programs, then today's language programs. Each step let the machine do more without a human spelling out every last detail. Now the obvious question. If this is decades old, why did it suddenly become the only thing anyone talks about? The honest answer is almost boring. For a long time, this technology lived in research labs and inside products you were already using without noticing. And we will spend a whole later lesson on exactly that. Then in late 2022, one company put a simple chat box on a website and let anyone type into it for free. No installation, no manual. You just typed a question in plain language, and it answered you in plain language. That was the whole change. The technology had been improving quietly for years. But for the first time, an ordinary person could touch it without being a programmer. It went from thing experts discuss to thing your neighbor tried on Sunday afternoon. Within weeks, millions of people had used it. The marketing departments of every company on Earth noticed at the same moment, and the word AI got stamped onto everything in sight. So if it feels like this came out of nowhere, it did not. What came out of nowhere was your invitation. The door opened. The building had been standing there a long time. This is the part worth slowing down for, because it is where most of the confusion actually lives. When a product says, now with AI, that phrase is doing marketing work, not technical work. AI has become a sticker, like premium, like smart. It signals modern and impressive, far more than it describes anything specific. Sometimes there is genuinely a powerful language model behind the sticker, and sometimes it is a very ordinary piece of software wearing a fashionable word. So, what is it technically when it really is the real thing? Strip away the glamour, and today's AI is, at its heart, statistics on an enormous scale. It is a system that has seen a staggering number of examples and has gotten very, very good at predicting what fits. When it writes you a paragraph, it is not thinking the way you think. And it is not looking up a stored answer in a drawer somewhere. It is predicting piece by piece what tends to come next. Astonishingly well, but still predicting. Why does that matter to you in practice? Because it explains the behavior you will actually run into. A system built to predict what sounds right will sometimes hand you something that sounds completely right and is completely wrong. Hold on to that idea. It is the single most useful thing to understand about modern AI, and we give it an entire lesson of its own later on. For now, just file it away. Impressive pattern matching, not magic, and not a thinking person sitting on the other end. And here's the thing almost no explainer will admit. There is no clean, agreed-upon line for what counts as real AI. Ask 3 experts and you will get 3 different answers. Some reserve the term only for systems that learn. Some use it for anything that imitates a human-like task. Some roll their eyes at the word entirely and just say machine learning or language models. That is not a gap in your understanding. It is a genuine, open disagreement among the very people who build this for a living. So if you have ever felt a little confused about what the word even means, that is not because you missed a class. It is because the word is honestly fuzzy, used loosely, and stretched to cover a lot of very different things. Let us make this real with one everyday picture. Imagine you had an assistant who has read almost everything ever written, has a near-perfect memory for the patterns in all of it, and an unshakable willingness to help, but who has no idea what happened yesterday, occasionally states things with total confidence that simply are not true, and never, ever gets tired of your questions. That is a fair mental picture of today's AI. Enormously well-read, tireless, genuinely useful for a great many things, and not a replacement for your own judgment on the things that truly matter. You would happily ask that assistant to draft a birthday message. You would not hand it your taxes and walk away. 3 small things to carry out of this lesson. First, when you see I printed on a product, treat it as a marketing word until proven otherwise. It might be something powerful. It might be paint. The label by itself tells you nothing. Second, it sounds confident and it is correct are 2 completely different things with this technology. Sounding confident is the easy part for it. Being correct is not guaranteed. Never mistake a smooth answer for a true one. Third, when someone tells you AI is going to either save the world or end it by Thursday, you can relax a little. The people closest to the technology are far more uncertain and frankly far more boring about it than the headlines are. A big confident claim in either direction usually tells you more about the person making it than about the technology itself. And now the part this channel always insists on. You do not need to remember the history. You do not need to know what a neural network is or how training works under the hood, or the name of any particular model. None of that is required to follow a conversation, and we will hand you the few words that genuinely are useful in the very next lesson. Here is the honest truth that should take a little weight off your shoulders. Most of the younger, more confident-sounding people around you do not know the underlying machinery either. They simply picked up the vocabulary a bit earlier. The vocabulary is the gate, not the engineering. So you are not behind. The technology is new. The marketing is much louder than the substance. And you're noticing it now, on your own terms, at your own pace. That is exactly right. If you would like this lesson in writing, there is a companion document for this episode on our resources page. Free. No email required. Nothing to sign up for. You just download it and keep it. Every episode in this course gets one. Next time, in Lesson 2, we do the single most practical thing in the whole course. The small handful of words you will actually hear: model, prompt, token, hallucination, and a few more, each in one plain sentence with one example. After that lesson, conversations that used to sound like another language start to make sense. And if you ever decide you would rather have this as a live, one-on-one conversation than a video, that option quietly exists too. But there is no pressure here at all. Just watch the next one whenever you are ready. That is the only homework. We had an opinion on this, we shared it. Where your curiosity goes from here is entirely yours to decide.